Hello and welcome back to our channel Tinnitus Relief. If you're here with us today, chances are you know that relentless internal symphony of sound, that ringing, buzzing, hissing or roaring that only you can hear. For so many of us, for far too long, our journey with tinnitus has been dominated by a single, often frustrating narrative: it's a problem with my ear. We visited countless doctors, had our ears checked, and perhaps received that familiar, disheartening news. Your ear is damaged and there's nothing more we can do. And with that, we're left feeling isolated, resigned, and utterly without hope. But what if I told you that while the initial spark of tinnitus often ignites in the ear, the actual fire of its perception, its intensity, and its profound emotional grip burns not just in your ear, but far, far more powerfully, deep within the incredible, adaptable labyrinth of your own brain? This understanding, this profound shift in perspective, is quite possibly the single most liberating and empowering concept in modern tinnitus management, because once you grasp that your brain plays an active central role in creating, maintaining, and most importantly, reducing the perception of this phantom sound, you unlock a universe of new strategies. You tap into your brain's astonishing capacity for change, what scientists call neuroplasticity, to find not just fleeting moments of quiet, but a path toward genuine, lasting peace and habituation. Today we're embarking on an unprecedentedly detailed journey. We're going beyond the ear, delving deep into the miraculous complexity of your brain, to illuminate precisely how it processes, or perhaps misprocesses, sound. More importantly, we'll discover how you can harness its remarkable power to guide yourself towards a quieter, more peaceful life. This is a journey of understanding and ultimately, of reclaiming your calm. It's so incredibly natural for all of us to point the finger squarely at the ear, isn't it? If you've been to a loud concert, experienced an ear infection, taken ototoxic medications, or endured the debilitating effects of Meniere's disease, the logical, intuitive conclusion is, my ear is damaged, so the sound must be coming directly from there. It makes perfect sense. And to be absolutely clear, let's be honest, in the vast majority of tinnitus cases, we're talking perhaps 80 to 90%, the initial trigger or origin point does lie in some form of damage or change within your delicate inner ear. Specifically, we're talking about those unbelievably tiny, almost microscopic hair cells nestled within the cochlea, which is that spiral-shaped structure deep inside your ear. These little wonders are your body's exquisite transducers. Their job is to convert the physical vibrations of sound waves into electrical signals, the language your brain understands. When these incredibly fragile hair cells are damaged, perhaps by years of noise exposure, by age, by infection, or by other factors, they either send abnormal signals to the brain, or they send fewer signals, creating a gap in the expected auditory input. And this, my friends, leads us to the absolute core principle of today's discussion. When your brain no longer receives the rich, full spectrum of auditory information it expects from a healthy ear, it doesn't just passively stop hearing those frequencies. Oh no, your brain is a remarkable, proactive organ. It thinks, I'm not getting enough input here. I need to compensate. I need to turn up the gain, amplify any faint signals, and maybe even generate some internal activity to fill in these missing pieces. This compensation, this brain-generated phantom signal that arises in response to a perceived lack of external input, this neural filling in the gaps, is precisely what we consciously perceive as our tinnitus. So, yes, the initial trigger might be a whisper of damage in the ear. But the actual, persistent, often distressing perception of tinnitus, that, my friends, is a symphony, or perhaps a cacophony, happening entirely within the vast, intricate networks of your brain. Let's trace the lightning-fast journey of sound, and more importantly, this phantom sound, as it travels through your brain's elaborate auditory network. Imagine it as a superhighway of sound signals. Okay, follow along with me. This is our direct, high-speed fiber optic cable, sending raw sound information from your inner ear directly to your brainstem. Think of it as the first point of contact for external sound, and also for those initial, aberrant signals from damaged ear cells. Once those signals hit the brainstem, they first arrive here. This is where the initial, complex processing begins. Signals are sorted, categorized, and then cleverly split, sending different aspects of that sound information to various other parts of the brain. It's like the dispatch center. These deeper, older parts of your brain handle incredibly fast, foundational processing. They're involved in things like initial filtering, processing the intensity of sound, and incredibly importantly, helping you localize where a sound is coming from in space. Even at this early subconscious stage, abnormalities or hyperactivity in these areas, perhaps compensating for missing input, can contribute to the very foundation of your tinnitus. Now, this is a truly fascinating and critical checkpoint. The thalamus is often affectionately called the relay station or the grand central station of your brain. Every single piece of sensory information except for smell passes through the thalamus on its way to the higher, conscious parts of your brain. It acts like a highly sophisticated gatekeeper, deciding which information is important enough to be forwarded to your conscious mind and which can be quietly filtered out. In the context of tinnitus, we believe this crucial gating mechanism can become faulty. Instead of effectively filtering out the phantom sound, it allows that unwanted signal to bypass the usual ignore switch, sending it straight up to your conscious awareness. And finally, our signal arrives here, nestled deep within your temporal lobe. This is the ultimate destination for sound processing. This is where sound is consciously perceived, interpreted, and given meaning. This is your brain's listening center. So, when we talk about tinnitus, what we're often seeing is an abnormal, perhaps hyperactive, or even disorganized neural activity that originates or becomes significantly amplified somewhere along these elaborate central auditory pathways. It's like a meticulously tuned radio receiver suddenly getting stuck on a frequency that's just pure static humming away, even when there's absolutely no external broadcast. Your brain is generating its own internal station. But here's the truly crucial part, the piece that transforms tinnitus from just a sound into often a deeply distressing, anxiety-provoking, even despair-inducing experience. The tinnitus signal doesn't politely stay confined to your auditory cortex. It sends ripples, connections, and alarms throughout other critical regions of your brain, forming what we now understand as a complex, interconnected tinnitus network within your brain. And it's the activity within this network that dictates your level of suffering. Let's break down these critical connections. This is your brain's ancient, powerful emotional hub. It includes structures like the amygdala, often called the fear center, which processes emotions like fear, anxiety, and threat. And the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory formation, especially emotional memories. When the tinnitus signal bypasses those thalamic filters and reaches these limbic areas, it's not just heard, it's felt. It triggers primal emotional reactions like intense fear, overwhelming anxiety, gnawing frustration, even despair or anger. And because the hippocampus is involved, it quickly attaches negative associations and solidifies the memory of the tinnitus as a constant threat, cementing its presence in your daily experience. This is why tinnitus can evoke such profound emotional distress, sometimes disproportionate to the actual sound itself. It's your brain's alarm system misfiring. The limbic system's constant alarm bells then trigger a cascade of physiological responses through your autonomic nervous system. This system operates largely below your conscious awareness, managing your body's involuntary functions. When it perceives a threat, like constant tinnitus, it activates the sympathetic nervous system that is your primitive, fight or flight, response. This floods your body with potent stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, increases your heart rate, elevates your blood pressure, causes muscle tension, and keeps your body on high alert. And here's the cruel irony: this heightened state of arousal, this constant internal alarm, can in turn make your tinnitus feel even louder, more intrusive, and more unbearable, creating a truly vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. Your brain, primed for threat, amplifies the very signal it's trying to escape. Now, let's look at your brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex. This is the most evolved part of your brain, responsible for executive functions: attention, focus, planning, problem-solving, and decision-making. When tinnitus is highly bothersome, constantly firing signals into the emotional and attention networks, it can effectively hijack your prefrontal cortex. It becomes incredibly difficult to concentrate on tasks, to engage in conversations, to work efficiently, or even to simply enjoy a book. Your prefrontal cortex is constantly exhausting itself, battling to either desperately ignore the sound or to relentlessly solve the problem of the sound, diverting vital cognitive resources away from everything else you need to do. This intricate, interconnected network within your brain precisely explains why tinnitus is so much more than just a sound. It is a profound sensory, emotional, and cognitive experience that can utterly transform and, for many, deeply diminish their quality of life. The relentless, often unconscious, engagement of these non-auditory brain regions is what elevates a mere internal sound into a debilitating, attention-demanding torment for millions. But here, my friends, is where the truly profound, hopeful, and incredibly empowering news enters the conversation. Your brain is not a fixed, rigid structure. It is, quite astonishingly, always in flux. It is remarkably adaptable, constantly reorganizing itself, forming brand new neural connections, strengthening beneficial pathways, and critically for us, even reducing the prominence of old, unwanted ones. This inherent, lifelong ability of your brain to literally rewire itself is what scientists call neuroplasticity. And this extraordinary quality is the absolute cornerstone, the very foundation, of tinnitus habituation. Let me be clear about what habituation truly means, because it's often misunderstood. Habituation is not necessarily about the tinnitus sound completely disappearing, though for a significant number of people, the perceived volume can indeed diminish significantly. No, habituation is about your brain learning to effectively filter out the tinnitus signal as irrelevant, non-threatening background noise. It's the same genius process your brain uses to filter out the constant hum of your refrigerator, the gentle rustle of leaves outside your window, or even the feeling of your clothes against your skin. You know those sounds are there, but your brain correctly determines they are not important, so it pushes them into the background of your awareness. When true habituation occurs, the tinnitus signal might still technically be present at a neural level, but your brain simply no longer prioritizes it. It no longer registers it as a threat. And crucially, the associated emotional distress, that fear, that anxiety, that frustration, dramatically reduces or even vanishes entirely. It becomes just another sound, a neutral sound, that your brain has learned to successfully ignore. So, the million-dollar question, the one we've all been waiting for: how do we actively, deliberately, and effectively guide our incredible brains towards this profound state of habituation? We do it by consciously and consistently engaging its neuroplasticity through targeted, evidence-based strategies that address both the auditory processing and, critically, the emotional and cognitive aspects of that deeply embedded tinnitus network. These strategies are not passive. They are active, empowering steps designed to literally rewire your brain's fundamental response to tinnitus, systematically reducing its emotional impact and gradually diminishing its perceived loudness. This is where you become the architect of your own peace. Remember how we talked about the brain compensating for a lack of input? Well, here's where we strategically exploit that. By providing your brain with gentle, consistent, and importantly, pleasant sound, you can help reduce the perceived loudness and intrusiveness of your tinnitus. You're filling in those silent gaps, giving your brain something else, something non-threatening to focus on. This is not about masking the tinnitus completely with loud noises, though for some, temporary masking can offer relief, but rather about enriching your auditory environment so the tinnitus has less space to dominate. This is perhaps the most fundamental sound strategy. Think about always having a subtle, consistent, non-alarming sound in your environment. This could be a dedicated white noise generator, a pink noise app on your smartphone, nature soundscapes like gentle ocean waves, soft rain, or bubbling brooks, or even very quiet, ambient instrumental music. The magic here is the level. It should be just below your tinnitus so you can still hear the tinnitus if you concentrate, but it blends into the background. It provides a constant, benign signal for your brain to focus on instead of the internal phantom sound. This is a crucial rule for tinnitus sufferers. Prolonged, deep silence is the enemy of habituation for many. Why? Because when your brain receives absolutely no external auditory input, it literally searches for sound, and what it finds first is often your internal tinnitus. It amplifies that signal, making it more prominent and harder to ignore. So, aim for a constantly sound-enriched environment, especially in quiet places like your bedroom at night, or if you're working alone in a quiet room. This is a game changer for a very large segment of the tinnitus community. If you have even a mild, unaddressed hearing loss, hearing aids can be profoundly beneficial. By amplifying the external sounds you should be hearing, they reduce the stark contrast with your internal tinnitus. This lessens the brain's compensation activity. Many modern hearing aids also come equipped with built-in tinnitus maskers or sophisticated sound therapy features, delivering specific, customizable sounds directly into your ear to aid the habituation process. This offers a personalized, convenient way to apply sound enrichment. Now, let's talk about a highly structured, scientifically rigorous, and evidence-based approach that was specifically designed around the principles of neuroplasticity and the brain's role in tinnitus retraining therapy, or TRT. This isn't a quick fix, but a powerful, transformative journey. TRT operates on two equally vital pillars. This component is absolutely critical, arguably the most important. It involves in-depth, personalized education from a trained TRT audiologist or therapist about the very mechanisms of tinnitus. You learn why you hear the sound, why it bothers you, and most importantly, how your brain's natural response to it can be rewired. The counseling systematically helps you de-link the tinnitus sound from those powerful negative emotional reactions. You come to understand that the sound itself is fundamentally neutral. It's your reaction to it, the fear, the anxiety, the threat assessment, that causes the distress. By removing the negative emotional meaning, your brain learns to down-regulate its attention to the sound. Alongside the counseling, TRT often utilizes specialized, wearable sound generators, sometimes integrated into hearing aids, that produce a soft, broadband noise. This provides that consistent, neutral, benign background sound we discussed. The purpose of this sound isn't to mask the tinnitus completely, but rather to provide a constant, non-alarming auditory signal. This consistent, non-threatening input helps the brain habituate faster, giving it a safe signal to process instead of solely focusing on the internal tinnitus. Over time, the brain learns that both the external sound and, by association, the internal tinnitus, are irrelevant and can be ignored. Since we know the limbic system and prefrontal cortex play such a huge role in the suffering associated with tinnitus, therapies that directly target these brain regions are incredibly effective. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a widely recognized and powerful psychological therapy that focuses precisely on identifying and then skillfully changing those unhelpful, negative thought patterns and maladaptive behaviors that keep you trapped in the tinnitus distress cycle. CBT helps you become acutely aware of those automatic, catastrophic thoughts about your tinnitus, like, It will never stop. I can't live like this. I'm going crazy. You learn techniques to challenge the validity of these thoughts, to put them on trial, and to replace them with more balanced, realistic, and ultimately, more helpful interpretations. This process, repeated over time, resculpts your neural pathways to respond differently. Beyond thoughts, CBT provides concrete tools to manage the anxiety, improve sleep, and reduce common avoidance behaviors, like withdrawing from social situations or quiet places because of tinnitus. It encourages re-engagement with life. This is a specific, incredibly powerful form of mindfulness that has been adapted beautifully for chronic conditions like tinnitus. MBSR teaches you to observe your tinnitus sensation without judgment. Instead of fighting the sound, you learn to acknowledge its presence, to observe it like a passing cloud, and then to gently redirect your attention. This practice cultivates a crucial skill: detachment from the emotional reaction. It's about accepting the presence of the sound while actively choosing not to engage with it emotionally, not to fear it, not to fight it. This subtle yet profound shift in attentional and emotional engagement can dramatically reduce suffering. It's like turning down the emotional volume knob, even if the actual sound remains the same. This is paramount. Given the deep, intricate connection between your brain's emotional limbic system, your fight-or-flight autonomic nervous system, and the perceived loudness of your tinnitus, actively learning to manage and regulate your stress response is not just helpful, it's absolutely fundamental. When your nervous system is calm, when your brain perceives itself as safe, it is far less likely to interpret your tinnitus as a threat, and thus, less likely to amplify it. This is your most powerful, immediate tool for regulating your nervous system. Deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system, which sends powerful signals of safety and calm directly to your brain. Practice this literally multiple times a day, especially when your tinnitus feels more intrusive, or when you feel anxiety rising. It's an anchor. This simple yet effective technique involves systematically tensing and then consciously releasing different muscle groups throughout your body. It helps you become aware of physical tension, which often accompanies tinnitus distress, and provides a concrete method to release it, promoting profound physical and mental relaxation. Regular, gentle exercise such as walking, swimming, light yoga, or Tai Chi is a phenomenal stress reducer. It naturally lowers stress hormones, releases endorphins, your brain's natural mood boosters, and helps shift your focus away from internal distress. Even short bursts of movement can make a difference. Beyond the MBSR framework, regular meditation, even just 10 to 15 minutes a day, trains your attention and emotional regulation over to the tinnitus signal, fostering a sense of inner peace. A well-rested brain is a significantly less reactive, less irritable, and more resilient brain. Lack of sleep directly amplifies stress and emotional reactivity, making tinnitus feel far worse. Focus intensely on creating a serene sleep environment, establishing a consistent bedtime routine, and practicing pre-sleep relaxation techniques. We could even do a whole video just on this. Here's a beautiful truth about your brain. It cannot fully, simultaneously, and intensely pay attention to two truly distinct things at once. This is a cognitive limitation we can absolutely leverage for tinnitus relief. By actively and deeply engaging in activities that fully capture your attention, you effectively divert precious mental resources away from the tinnitus signal. This is about finding flow, that state where you are so completely absorbed in an activity that time seems to disappear. Whether it's painting, playing a musical instrument, gardening, coding, writing, building models, or knitting, When you are deeply engaged and challenged in a positive way, your brain is busy processing those enjoyable external inputs. This significantly reduces the bandwidth available for the internal tinnitus signal, pushing it into the background. Connect meaningfully with others. Lively conversations, shared laughter, and collaborative activities demand your attention and focus on external cues. Work on projects that require concentration and problem solving. When your prefrontal cortex is happily occupied with a challenging task, it has less capacity to dwell on the tinnitus. This is about consciously directing your attention away from the internal sound and towards a rich, engaging external world. Habituation is a profound process. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, it takes incredible patience with yourself, and it absolutely requires consistent, dedicated effort. Your brain didn't wire itself to amplify tinnitus overnight, and it most certainly won't rewire itself overnight either. But it will rewire. There will be good days, great days, and yes, there will inevitably be tough days where your tinnitus seems louder, more intrusive, or your anxiety spikes. This is absolutely normal. Do not let a temporary setback or a particularly loud day derail your entire progress. See them as moments to practice your coping strategies even more diligently. This is so important for maintaining motivation. Consciously acknowledge and celebrate every single moment, every few minutes, every hour that you go without noticing your tinnitus. These are powerful, undeniable signs that your brain is actively, beautifully habituating. Those moments will become longer and more frequent. Living with tinnitus is an immense challenge. Learning to manage it, to reframe it, and to habituate to it requires immense resilience and inner strength. Be incredibly kind to yourself during this process. Acknowledge your efforts, forgive yourself for setbacks, and treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend facing a similar challenge. You do not have to walk this path alone. In fact, professional guidance can dramatically accelerate your progress. Seek out those specifically trained in tinnitus retraining therapy, TRT, or other sound-based therapies. They can conduct thorough audiological assessments, provide personalized sound therapy, and offer directive counseling. Look for psychologists or counselors who have experience with chronic conditions and specifically with CBT for tinnitus. They can provide invaluable tools for managing the psychological impact and rewiring your thought patterns. While the focus today is on the brain, it's always crucial to have an initial evaluation by an ENT to rule out any underlying medical conditions that might require specific treatment. These are ENTs with specialized training in neurological aspects of ear conditions, often a great resource for complex tinnitus cases. Understanding that your brain is the central active player in your tinnitus experience is not merely a fascinating scientific fact. It is a profound, life-altering beacon of hope. It shifts you from a passive victim of a sound to an active, empowered participant in your own relief and healing. By consistently, patiently, and compassionately applying these brain-based strategies, you are literally leveraging your brain's incredible capacity for change, guiding it towards a future where the sound of tinnitus no longer holds power over your life, no longer dictates your joy, your peace, or your freedom. You have the power within you, within your own magnificent, adaptable brain, to resculpt your relationship with tinnitus. It may not be an easy path, but it is, without a shadow of a doubt, profoundly possible. We at Tinnitus Relief are here to walk this journey with you, every step of the way. Share your insights, your questions, and your own experiences in the comments below. Your contribution helps to build a stronger, more knowledgeable, and deeply connected community. Join us next time on Tinnitus Relief, as we continue to explore every pathway to a calmer, quieter, more peaceful life. Thank you for watching.